Questions you didn't know you had, week 3. How do you get more efficient at memorizing? First, it is important to practice your music where you know it well enough to expect what's coming next. After this, your music should be partly memorized as it is. Your brain will anticipate what's next, and you should be able to kind of play it by ear, at least the melody. From this point, there are a few things you can do to become more efficient. Depending on the music and how you learn, it can be all about memorizing one measure at a time. Then increase it to 2 measures and then double it to 4 measures. Usually, by the time you can play 4 measure sections by memory, you can put it together and play through. Another method you can try will seem strange at first, but it does work pretty well. It's called impulse practice, and usually we use impulse practice for speed, but we can also use it for memorization. So, what you do is you look at the measure you're about to play, and then you look away and you play the measure. And then you look at the next measure, and then you look away and then you play the measure. So, pretty much you're playing every measure by memory. It's just you're pausing in between to review it and then play. After you do that a few times in like an 8 measure section, I would say, then go back and do it 2 measures at a time, same thing. This will grow upon itself until you can easily play the section by memory. I would like to take a moment to remind you that whenever focusing on learning a piece or memory, you should be practicing it slow. So don't worry about speed in these sections. Speed usually comes naturally unless it's a very fast piece. So if it's not a very fast piece, what you want is familiarity, not speed. So when you're working on memory, still keep it at a relaxed tempo, not performance speed. Now, if you're an advanced player, the music is much more complicated. Try memorizing the chord progression that the music is based on. So, for example, if you know that you're playing in a specific key and the chord coming up is a D7, you will be more confident in playing an F sharp or a C instead of wondering, is it F sharp or C? Because you already know the formula that the music is based on. With this technique, you will be able to better memorize the notes from each specific chord, and this will allow you better forethought when reading the music. Some music can be much harder to memorize than others. I'm looking at you, Baroque music. So, since a lot of Baroque music is polyphonic, which means there's more than one melody being played at the same time, this is difficult to do by memory. And so, a good strategy is to play and memorize hands separately, uh, or even voice separately if you're more advanced, but it's easier to understand hands separately. So, you memorize the right hand by itself or the left hand by itself and then put them together. Not only is this going to help your memorization be more confident, it is also going to make your playing sound a lot better because you're playing the voices separately and internalizing them in their own separate phrasing. And so when you put it together, each voice will have its own individual phrasing instead of being phrased together with both hands. And that'll give it a much more amazing sound to, or much more to for the listener to focus on and listen to. It's so much more impressive if you can pull that off. And a good way to pull that off is memorizing hands separate. Just remember, you will not memorize a piece in a day. This is true especially for us intermediate and advanced players. Memorization is a repetition game. It really is. And I would say even for beginners, you have to be able to play it by memory 3 days in a row before you're going to be able to play it in front of others for a performance. And I think that might be a little generous. It just depends on how complicated the piece is. For intermediate and advanced players, I've had pieces that took me months, and I was practicing it every day. It's just a big difference between memorizing a piece that is 40 measures and memorizing a piece that is 200 measures. And if it's got, really dense chords and elaborate chord progressions, that's just going to take a bit longer. But it's worth it. Keep showing up, keep working on your memorization because once you have it, it is yours. And one of the most amazing things is when you get something up to performance level and memorized, even if you forget the piece, say you stop playing it for a few months, you can relearn it. I would say more than twice as fast. I would say probably within a quarter of the time that you learned it the first time. it just comes back so fast. So once a piece becomes a part of your repertoire, it is yours and it is something to be proud of and something you can lean on. So yes, it does take a lot of work, especially for us more advanced players, but I think it is something that is completely worth it. And I also think that when you memorize your music, you perform it better too. And that is the end of this one. If you are interested in fun, engaging, and convenient piano lessons in the comfort of your own home through Zoom, go to my website, thebuddingpianist.com, and put in your contact information. I will reach out to you and schedule a nice 30-minute piano maestro lesson with you. You will get to learn how to navigate around the keys, and by the end of the lesson, you will be playing a song. Keep growing through the joy of music.